And we've been working on it for over a year now.
So why is it not ready then?
Well, it is ready, but is it ready?
I do not know what that means. How are you sleeping?
Oh, that's rich. Sleep. Oh, yeah. And speaking of, that doctor with the dream fabricator?
He's no longer available for comment. We are down to less than 30.
So like he vanished or?
Just no longer responding to my calls, letters, or emails.
Well, not like we don't have other stories, I guess. Maybe try a fax?
Going live in 5, 4, 3.
Brace yourselves for the truth. This is Truth or Die with Abnorman.
Good day and welcome, listeners. I am your titular host, Abnorman, aka Abnorman, and I'll be your captain through this flight into the weird. As always, we're coming to you live from Fielded, New Jersey on WYHY. With me tonight is my producer, Z.
Stay safe, stay alive out there.
Oh, and do we have a strange one tonight, folks? Just like last night and the night before. Heck, we only have strange nights, not to mention strange days, but we're on after 11. Anyway, we got this official looking letter from the Department of Protections.
Not a real organization.
But we're also talking about some local fauna and some unsettling situations regarding what you think you know about your body in light and shadow. Can we still trust our senses? Could we ever? We'll let you be the judge because we are taking your calls at 1-888-666-7777. That number again is 1-888-666-7777. But for now, we have a special word from tonight's sponsor, Spirit Curd.
Are the spirits of your loved ones at rest? Are you sure? How can they be without a ghost belly full of Swiss Spectre? Swiss Spectre is the only cheese made by Swedish spirits, for spirits. It contains all of the things that spirits need in a cheese. Life, warmth, and a rich creaminess to die for. Processed with a combination of laughter, youth, and screaming, then aged to perfection. Why risk not appeasing the dead? Is it worth your life? And immortal soul? We can make you suffer in eternal torment. Available now at your local grocers.
You know, I had some of that Spirit Curd, and let me tell you, ghosts might love it. I don't know. I'm not a ghost. But I put it into a grilled cheese, and when you know it, walk through the Egberton Memorial Cemetery without so much as a care. Through it, I mean, like through the gates and headstones and everything. And you know what? I only lost a little bit of dried skin flaking off my arms a bit there, but that might be from something else. I mean, you know, I'm about to get some more if
Callers are already filling up the board.
Oh, what? Really? Is this about the cheese? Hang on, callers. We still have to get to our thing. So if you're already fired up, I'd say keep that extinguisher handy, because this is going to be extra hot. We looked into this Department of Protections that sent us this here letter, and surprising no one, we found no records of the Department of Protections or where its logo came from. We're going to upload the image to the message board, and maybe one of you can identify it for us.
Are you going to read it?
Oh, yeah. Here it goes. Dear occupant, the land you are currently occupying is hazardous to all living organisms. It is imperative that you abandon the premises and relocate so that proper disposal and treatment may occur of contaminated items. All private and public property must be abandoned in place within 14 days. You have the aforementioned 14 days from the date of this letter to comply. Failure to adhere to this message will result in adverse effects to occupants' physical and mental health. We appreciate your compliance. Sincerely, Donald Scott, MD, Executive Czar, Department of Protections, and letters dated 4 days ago.
You can tell by the language that it is not a government document. Also, there is no return address.
Yepper. It really reads like one of those scam letters, like not much effort at all, or like way too much. Listeners, we're nothing if not cautious around here.
We do our best.
We use science, not magic.
You have used a little magic.
You can never be too careful. We have run or had someone run every possible test to locate something hazardous, like anything hazardous here in the studio. And again, surprising none of us, we are as clean as a whistle.
More or less.
So where did this letter come from? Like Z said, there is no return address. This type of investigative reporting is often met with many an obstacle and comes with no small threat to our lives and liberties. But the truth is too important not to share. This program and its associates are the targets of assassination, intimidation, and disinformation from a wide variety of sources. And that's on a good day. But we will never stop. The truth must be known. This is Truth or Die, and I pledge to do everything I can to keep us honest and on the air.
Seconded.
And as always, we need your support by going to our website at thetruthis.abnorman.com, by calling 1-888-666-7777. You can request a catalog or make a purchase or donation. Every cent we have goes towards spreading the truth of our universe. You can also write us or send donations at P.O. Box 315, Fieldland, New Jersey. Make checks payable to This Can't Be Real, LLC. Thank you, listeners. Let the truth be known.
Let the truth be known. We still do have callers on the line.
Oh, yes, right. Let's take some calls. That's 1-888-666-7777. And that number again is 1-888-666-7777. The lines are open, and we are taking your calls right here live on Truth or Die. How are we doing, Z?
A green light.
Cool. All right, caller, you are live on Truth or Die.
Hello, Abner. This is Sasha calling from Leedsville.
Hello, Sasha, and thanks for listening. What's on your mind?
Well, I have a cousin living in Fieldland over on Quail Run.
Sure, I know it.
She just got a new cell phone.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah. And she said, I'm not going to use her name because,
Of course, and thanks for protecting your cousin.
She said that the reception is terrible, first off.
Yeah, that's like half the point of cell phone tech. It's generating emotions like frustration and aggravation to like...
But it's not so bad when she goes into the little bit of woods behind her house. It's crystal clear there.
Wait, so like she has a clear line to a tower from there?
There ain't a tower aside from the one on the other side of the county.
Oh yeah, the one by Cummings Lake, sure. DZ, did they install a new tower somewhere?
Not officially, at least.
That's not even the weird part.
Okay, so what's the weird part then, Sasha?
It's clear in the woods, yeah, but so if you keep going into the woods, it starts to break up again until you go maybe 100 feet in, and then the static starts to fade, and you can hear, I don't know if she said it doesn't sound like people talking, but more like something that sounds more like people singing in some kind of language she's never heard before.
Yeesh, I wish you could say that was just like tapping into some kind of foreign language ministry service or like a world music station, but that's not that's not how cell phones work.
No, I don't think that's how cell phones work.
So what do you or your cousin think it is? Any ideas?
I don't know. She doesn't know. Now, I'm going to get off the line and stop taking up your time, but I hope that you'll look into this. Thank you.
Thank you, Sasha. We normally avoid anything connected to cell phones due to the obvious health and psychic risks, but if we don't take the risks, then how many more people are going to get hurt or worse?
Marco had joked about getting a phone for experiments and decoys. He already built a Faraday cage.
For this or for something else?
He will not say for what.
Sounds like Marco. It sounds like he's the one to take this one on there. So Sasha, keep listening. We'll definitely be following up with an investigation of this because, and listeners, the telecommunications apparatus around here is not built around the concept of you communicating with others. It's about others communicating with you. Things that live in the space between the real and unreal, looking for any gateway or hole they can slip through, like tattoos, movies about ghosts, quote unquote, occult literature.
More on that another time.
Maybe next week. Yeesh. Okay, now, next caller. Hello, you are live on Truth or Die. What's on your mind?
Hey, Abner. How are you? It's Matches out in Salem.
Doing all right, Matches. Always good to hear from you. What's got you fired up this time?
I just wanted to throw in a thing about the pothole there near Volkite.
Oh, we know the one.
It is not true that the smell only gravitates around the hole. It's stronger there, and it's definitely malevolent and definitely more widespread.
What makes you say this? This about a sentient stench?
I was on the triple nickel with my kid in the back, and she starts crying and gagging, and I hadn't even gotten near the hole yet.
Oh, man.
And she starts saying, Daddy, it's coming, don't let it get me, it wets me in the hole, Daddy. Oh, I didn't know I like this.
Talk about a parent's worst nightmare. It didn't even make it onto the nightmare chart we did last week because it's too nightmarish. So, what did you do?
A 180, and went back the other way to go around on Delsey, which is what I should have done in the first place, granted. So, I already felt terrible.
Ugh. Kids are tough, and we can't protect them all the time.
No, but we can try. And that wasn't the end of it, because it followed us.
What? The stink?
My girl, she never lies or tells tales and is crazy sweet, and this just set her off, 'cause now she's screaming that it's coming after us, and she's screaming and screaming, then she just hiccups, and then like sort of zonks out. Then, so I pull over right quick to check on her, and all of a sudden it's like she's waking up out of a nap, all groggy and confused.
Was she okay? Are you worried about permanent damage?
Well, I thought she was fine, but now I'm worried about permanent damage.
Oh, sorry. But something you always need to consider around here, between the chemicals in the water, the radiation in the soil, and the other things that we don't even have words for because science refuses to acknowledge. And Matches, you there?
We lost him.
Try to have Amanda get a hold of him. I don't feel great about that, but we have to keep rolling.
We will find him.
I hope so. Okay, truth seekers. Here we go to the next thing. For you out-of-towners, we have these insects here in Fieldland that are, Z, what are they called?
Nothing. They have not been identified by science yet.
Have not yet been identified by science. Yet. Terrific. Well, I call them floaters because they gather in these little swarms and form these floating spheres in the sun. They look kind of like balloons from far away, but they're not balloons. If you live here, you grew up with them, and I guess no one really paid them any mind. We sent a nice package of these things to the local college, and they came back with nothing. Said they were a completely unremarkable sort of gnat. They made it in a weird manner, but that this particular species itself, well, like you heard Z say, has not yet been identified.
Not so weird, though.
Maybe. So we dug a bit, looking for the truth, and what we found was an unpublished paper by a local entomologist PhD candidate. That'd be a bug almost doctor, talking about a species that would seem to appear and anticipate mass murders or other disasters resulting in massive loss of life. He found the existence of an unknown but confirmed presence of a swarming behavior previously unseen in this type of insect. He was able to verify eyewitness reports and collected some particularly fun newspaper clippings from up to 90 years ago, when the Daily Journal was only two brothers with a printing press. In each instance, they had appeared prior to a mass death. We have a shooting rampage by a meat packer, and one by a bloodthirsty wild boar not native to this area. Not a shooting rampage, but just, the regular kind. And there's the per diem chemical company fire. Though some still claim all these bodies were created by the fire, despite the bullet wounds and claw and teeth marks, whatever. There was the 49 dropper that wiped out most of the town's elderly in a single night. And lastly, you got reports of these bugs gathering shortly before the arrival of Hexama, which, as you know, was the wraith that made the entire southern half of the county into a dead zone for the latter half of the 70s.
How many death events has this town had in total?
Yeah, frankly, one is too many.
Apparently not, because here we are without an accurate figure on this. How does this county have anyone left in it?
Oh, family, economics, mind control, bizarre addictions, curses, drugs, the standard stuff.
It does not seem standard. I am still curious.
I mean, this is why we're here seeking the truth. And I'm not going to judge anyone. Unless they refuse to open their eyes or are willing servants of the terrible fiends that enact their malicious designs on the living and dead alike.
Oh, you are saying that we are witnesses to a death omen, like a biblical plague?
The scientist was able to recreate the conditions in the field. The insects were seemingly reading his mind. If you're wondering how he has recreated these conditions, well, it costs a lot of pig lives. Meat pigs, not these little pot-bellied sweeties you got nowadays.
He states he would go into the field with them, with or without the intention of actually killing them, depending on which part of the experiment he was in.
And depending on where he was going to land on the bloodshed, the nanospheres, the little floaty guys, would either appear or not. Crazy stuff. You can't make this up.
Where's his study published?
It wasn't. It was buried, along with all those other docs we dug up after the third library burnt down.
I recall, literally buried.
Why wouldn't you?
We are not having this discussion again.
Right. Still, you're still trying to get a hold of that professor, right?
Oh, he died. I found his obituary.
If we're lucky, then we could do a seance maybe. But as we've learned here on Truth or Die, death is rarely the end, and rarely is Fieldland so merciful.
So, what do you think the next massacre is going to be?
I don't like how casual that question was or how I feel about it. but I'd have to say probably the funeral for Joseph Puccino, who's a World War I veteran. He had an extended family, and they're trying to all bury him in Egberton Memorial.
When will people learn? You can feel your skin trying to crawl away from that place even before you walk through the gate.
I think that's part of the thing. The other guess would be the sale at your local grocer's. But let me tell you, listeners, I'd stay away from both places.
It may only be a regular disaster, perhaps even a natural one.
Time will tell. For now, avoid the bugs. They can't hurt you. But pay attention to all of nature's signs. You know, I was once in the Moloch National Forest, and the moss was literally spelling things out for me and telling me where to go and who was after me.
Who was after you?
The moss wasn't sure, and I wasn't either. It was as I was writing the story about the pilgrim Arthur Person, who, was not a person at all and wasn't even human, frankly, but we're going off topic here. We're going to take a break after a short message from Spirit Curd, and when we come back, we still have our feature, and we still have some more stories. Plus, we'll be taking your calls. I'm Abnorman, and this is Truth or Die.
The milk you are drinking, the yogurt you're enjoying, the cheese you're melting, it's all dead. But it's not undead. Spirit Curd is the only cheese made by and for the dead. With a richness that's out of this world, you think you died and become trapped in an eternal loop of suffering while you watch everyone you ever loved suffer and die. Try it on toast.
Welcome back. This is Truth or Die. I'm your host, Abner Norman, aka Abnorman, and right now we are taking your calls at 1-888-666-7777. That number again is 1-888-666-7777. Z, what do we say?
The light is green.
Hello, caller. You're live on Truth or Die. Speak your truth.
Hey, how you doing, Abnorman? It's Frank over in Franklinville.
Hang in there, thanks. What's on your mind, Frank?
I had a question for you about the cats you did the report on a few weeks back, because my girl is seeing some things I can't see, and I was hoping you know how far the hive mind extended its reach.
Only about 1,400 meters, Frank. You should be good if you're all the way out in Franklinville.
That's a load off. Hey, you think animals can see things we can't?
If our senses were as finely tuned to the world as that of our pets, our conscious minds would explode. We can't handle it. Simple as that. Our minds have developed mechanisms to filter reality so we can handle it. Animals don't need that filter. I wrote a book called Truer Words about animals and their psychic abilities and their powers and stuff, and, it's not just animals either. Say, if you buy it off the site, I'll autograph it for you, Frank.
Hey, thanks, Abnorman. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Frank. Always good to hear from you. Next caller.
Hi, my name's AJ, longtime listener, first-time caller.
Thanks for listening, AJ. What's on your mind today?
In your book, Tableau of Horrors, you said that it's impossible to come face-to-face with the Alice Society's matriarchs and maintain your sanity. Yet Mayor Matthias not only faced them, he went on to become the state's lieutenant governor in 75.
No, he did not. A changeling called Anunnaki, spawned from discarded tissues, went on to become successful in state politics. Abbess Henrietta had kept the original mayor for reasons unknown and replaced him with what is essentially a living puppet.
You really expect people to believe that? Matthias was my father. I think I would have noticed if he had been replaced and if he was...
Andrew, I thought that was you. You need to stop calling. When the abbess stole his mind, she gave a copy to the Unnachi so it could replicate him perfectly. I'm sorry if this is hard for you to understand, but that's the reality. Next caller.
Maybe we could have Amanda start screening the calls. It might be time.
Ugh, it feels so gross. I hate it so much. It just doesn't feel right at all. This is Truth or Die, and we are supposed to have the truth or die. Here we go. Caller, you are live on Truth or Die. Tell us what's true.
Hi, I had a question for Truth Seeker Z.
Z, are you ready for a question?
Sure.
Do you think you have much longer left that you could hide from us, that we do not watch from every shadow and curved glass, that there was not a reason that you alone were spared the grisly fate that your family faced?
Whoa. Okay, that's enough of that. That was... Oh, Z, you all right?
I'm fine. I believe that we could use a break.
Oh, right. Here, we'll be back in just a moment. Here's a word from our sponsor, Spirit Curd. Okay, so screening callers might not be the worst idea that we...
Your money means nothing to us. All of our souls are lost, wandering, looking for that perfect tangy blend of a rich creamy saltiness with the dry finish of a hollow void of eternal restlessness and despair. Spirit Curd is the only way to grant a quick reprieve from a hollow existence in between worlds. We use a specter. You'll find it to die for.
We are back once again. This is Truth or Die. I'm your host, Abnorman, right here with my producer, Z.
Greetings. I want our listeners to know that I'm well and well acquainted with the risks of being a producer for this show. We appreciate your support and vow never to relent. And now, here is Abnorman.
Those amongst the living, the dead, and the in-between, welcome. Our next story has us asking the question, have you ever had a reason not to trust your shadow?
Of course.
Well, Z, most don't.
Then they are fools.
Maybe. Or are they just taking physics for granted? But whatever your deal is, this story is straight from an insider within the Fieldland PD. There have been 8 separate reports of what they're calling shadow autonomy. Shadow autonomy is described as one shadow behaving in ways contrary to your movements, with 3 of these individuals reporting hostility with their shadows, growing more aggressive, and either fleeing or attacking.
One can only wonder what damage a shadow can do.
Not trying to find out there, though. Police Chief Otto Przybinski declared the whole thing an elaborate farce. That is to say, he had, until his son came home crying that his shadow had run away without him. Otto issued the following statement later that day. Z, do we have that? Oh, okay, go.
If you're out there and you can hear us, please come back. We don't understand how or why you left, but if you come back, we are willing to let bygones be bygones. Everything is tougher without you, Jerry, my son, so that everything is heavier now and hotter, and the colors aren't as bright. So please, it's the natural order of things. Come back. Whatever we did, we're sorry. Whatever we need to do, please let us know. Do not, I repeat, do not make us come looking for you.
I do not see how that could fail.
Of those who have lost their shadows, none have yet reported their shadows to turn, but they all report the same feelings in its absence. A sense of isolation, depression, numbness, exhaustion, thoughts of self-destruction as well as overheating, and a great weight about the head and neck area, like you're being forced to carry a heavy invisible weight or gravity increase, but only for your head bits.
Yet no one has checked their temperature or given them a medical exam?
Of course not. Reports of these phenomena are unique to Fieldland, as we've been unable to locate any similar reports across time or space. In some cultures, the shadow or shade of an individual is considered to be that person's spirit or ghost. But we've got those ancient Roman and Greek vibes going on here.
There are common associations in cultures regarding the shadow actively containing one's identity and personality. One question I have, is something stealing these shadows? If you are listening, please call in and explain why.
One local who asked not to be named has advised that when her shadow was behaving to the contrary, has advised others to go into a darkened area where your shadow is no longer visible until it calms down. The witness reported her own shadows were, quote, wriggling and jumping like it was on fire, but it reportedly calmed down when she carried it to her basement to cool off, which she claimed caused it to, quote, stop acting silly, end quote.
Strange how one never even considers how they carry their shadow.
Yes! And what else are we taking for granted? Witnesses aren't reporting any physical harm from these umbrella altercations, although multiple witnesses, victims here, have reported that it is distracting and quite irritating if you're trying to concentrate on anything at all. Not to mention all the crushing depression, which is already a slow killer.
Nothing like being your own worst enemy, as they say.
Z, is our friend ready?
I am giving the green light.
We have our old compadre, Dr. Warren Davis, with a bit of insight to share on the matter. Dr. Warren Davis received his doctorate in abnormal ontology and phenomena from King's College and has spent the last 27 years dealing with phenomena of an impossible nature. Dr. Davis, welcome back to the program.
Thank you for having me back. I am glad you are addressing these concerning events.
You've seen this sort of thing before?
Not personally, but when I visited Jakarta to attend a conference given by the Society of Metallic Crystals, there was a woman I met who, and forgive me because I do not remember the proper title, but my colleague told me that she was what we would term in our language a shadow doctor.
That does not sound like a real thing.
Her practice was in treating disorders of a spiritual nature affecting the soul, the mind, and connected to death in a way that goes beyond the physical. She and I had a conversation about the nature of the mesh that binds physical phenomena such as shadows to the physical world. She told me that when there is a lack of congruency of one shadow, as you put it, acts contrarily. It can only be due to the presence of something dreadfully powerful. These powers that can warp and manipulate the shadows of others for whatever means they deem fit, including disturbing dreams, psychic vampirism, or spiritual control, are not natural in the least. Such instances are commonly tied to sorcery and beings capable of feats beyond mortal capabilities.
Not here in Fieldland. No way. Many people don't realize this, but your shadow is three-dimensional. Like if you pass through smoke or a fine mist, you can actually see your shadow's volume.
What are you saying here, Abnorman?
Well, like, what if that physical piece contains a wealth of information about an individual, like your DNA or like a hard drive? And what if somebody had access to all of your computer files, Z?
They would be very disturbed.
And then what if they could edit those files with or without you realizing it? Not just your files, but like your scripts too. So like you would engage in all these weird behaviors. And Dr. Davis, where could we go to find more information about this other than Indonesia?
I have to say, we talked at length, but I do not recall in what way she worked, how to access more information, or even what her name was or which colleague.
That is not very helpful, Doctor.
Oh, take it easy, Z. Dr. Warren, do you have any advice for us?
Yes. Leave. Leave as quickly as you can and go as far as you can. I listen to both of your broadcasts every week, and I always pray that it will be your last show, that both of you will find some sense and leave that terrible place you call home. There is so little there other than despair, darkness, pain, and unsolvable mysteries that will only drive you mad. Why, even...
And we lost Warren.
He was cracking. Again. Woo, what a week. Listen up, folks. We appreciate your concerns, we really do. So does our town. Since this program started just a few years ago.
Hard to believe it has even been that long.
Our town has experienced an unprecedented rise in tourism.
From 0 visitors a year to 11.
11? Your presence is risky to yourselves, to us, and to what we're trying to do here. I completely understand and respect your thirst for the truth and your autonomy. Nothing can sate your lust other than hard empirical evidence. So while there is a great deal of conjecture on this program and little outside of eyewitness accounts, we offer no validation or verification if we cannot say that we are certain.
We rarely are.
If local papers would just factually report 1,000th of what is really happening around here, the whole town would either be quarantined, evacuated, or nuked from orbit.
The only way to be sure.
Instead, we are here for the truth and as your proxies, to continue this never-ending mission to preserve reality and report what's actually happening in this crazy, mixed-up universe that we call home. If you want to help, then you can always support us by going to our website at truthisabnorman.com, by calling 1-800-666-7777. You can request a catalog or make a purchase or donation. Every cent we have goes towards spreading the truth of our universe. You can also write us or send donations at P.O. Box 315, Fieldland, New Jersey. Make checks payable to This Can't Be Real, LLC. Thank you, listeners. Let the truth be known.
Let the truth be known.
All right. Our top reporter in the field, Noreen Tomasello, just finished up and sent over her report before we came on the air today. We really want you to hear this one, so we are going to roll right into it. Here comes Noreen with that special report on the Skull Glass Fire of 59.
Here in Fieldland, there are not many opportunities for economic advancement beyond agriculture. That is, unless you're working for Skold Industries. While the entire town seems to be dying around it, this company appears to build itself ever higher upon the bodies of the dead and dying. Founded by Amelia and Emmerich Skold in 1889, Skold Industries has been the largest provider of jobs in the country, reporting over 6,000 occupations just in Fieldland proper. Their chemical/metallurgy plant was responsible for the quick turnaround of alloy production meant for space travel during the 60s through the 80s. Long before that, they started out manufacturing what they termed proprietary chemicals, which we honestly have no idea what they really were or how they were used. For various industries including medical, military, and household plastics. At least that's the extent of what is in the public record. I'm here at the not-so-forgotten site of yet another source of wealth, ground from the suffering of the local region, Skold Glass. It was a primary source of revenue and economic opportunity for local unskilled workers until a devastating fire consumed the factory, killing 17 workers and injured dozens more on November 17, 1959. We stand here at the very end of Rosemont Avenue, where the asphalt becomes dirt and grass. Behind is a field of gladiolas on the cusp of full bloom. After perhaps 100 meters into the forest of maple, oak, and poison ivy, the vegetation ends and there is a clearing. You feel like you have come upon a strange alien wasteland, where even weeds struggle to grow. The ground is not dirt, not rock, not sand or mulch, but countless pieces of glass. Some of these have melted and molded to create large crystalline globules that have become popular collector's items among the townsfolk, especially the younger generations, and are even sometimes sold. Their toxic and radioactive properties rarely given a second thought. As this area is also private Skold property, it is forbidden to the public. It presents opportunities for thrilling adventure and a chance to be naughty for children in a small town. As for the cause of that fatal inferno that turned a prosperous glass factory into an alien planet, all records from inspectors and the fire chief indicate that a temperature fluctuation inside of one of the larger kilts somehow caused the explosion, possibly caused by a need for either maintenance or repair. Only the official record is actually only one report from the fire inspector and one news article. As you might suspect, the unofficial record tells a much different story. However, as with much of history and many events in Fieldland, there is nothing to verify this. Though my contacts and digging, I was able to locate an old journal that had belonged to the factory foreman, Joseph Tierno. Thanks in part to his granddaughter not locking her door, listen to some of these entries from that dreadful year. March 14th, 1959. There are more of them than usual. They brought in this big piece of I don't know. Crystal maybe, and some contraption they kept referring to as new technology, but they wouldn't tell me any details. Emily offered to explain in private. I do not know what happened. Now the cellar has been locked and no one has the key. June 13th. More and more calling out sick or refusing to come in until we find the source of the hum. Guys are saying they hear and feel it even in their dreams. I don't know what they are talking about, and the inspectors don't know either. This new kid was supposed to start today, but only stayed an hour. Kept saying the place smelled like blood. I said I wish. It smells way worse than that. It does. I don't remember if it always smelled like this. August 7th. Even at this pay, I cannot overlook these safety concerns. I have to tell someone. I'm worried. When I get this way, when any of us start to get nervous, Emily always visits. She could be a movie star or start a cult. I don't know what she does or how she does it, but she always has ways of calming us down. We had to run a fire drill yesterday, and when you got outside, you could hear it, like laughing. But it was in your head, and it was. It was too high and low-pitched at the same time. Even Jerry said he could hear it, and he's almost deaf after the war. More of those guys came and went inside. They left after an hour and let us back inside. This is why we need to unionize. September 17th. They fired Tom. Had to drag him out of the factory. He was trying to break into the cellar. He was yelling, but none of us speak German, so no clue what he was saying. I never seen anyone turn that shade of red. They took him to see Emily. I wonder if all glass factories have their own police. Definitely doesn't feel right. October 4th. 3 more reported miscarriages from wives and girlfriends. That weird powder was all over the floor and the works again. It's been too hot for this time of year. But the only bugs have been dead ones. No one has even seen a mouse. Weird since the last 2 years we couldn't keep them away no matter how much poison we used. November 10th. They had to bring in more labor. Not as many left this week. But Emily is pushing us harder and harder. She has no idea the amount of work we do. She doesn't care. Thinks the pay covers it all. Doctors still don't know where the blood is coming from. They say my head's okay. We know it's not. Something is definitely not okay. I have to move us away. Have to find other work. They had more people coming out of the cellar than I ever saw go in. I checked with Rodney. He said no way any of those people came in on his shift. Where are they coming from? That was the last entry. Sadly, Joe Tierno was killed in a blaze, so we may never know the details surrounding some of these bizarre entries. Well, maybe not all of the details. Join me next week when we speak to one of the survivors of the Skull Glass Fire. This is Noreen Tomasello for Truth or Die.
Freaky stuff! The more we learn about the Skull family and their businesses, the more they resemble the villains in some kid's movie.
You wish this were a movie.
I do, honestly, I do. I wish none of this were real, but then we'd be out of work, wouldn't we? Oh, speaking of being out of work, that's our show for today, Truth Seekers. Join us next week where we follow up on the Skull Glass Fire with Noreen, and we get into a local legend, the Jersey Devil, that may be responsible for recent spat of disappearances and horse murders.
Not appropriate. People may be dying, Norman.
And a special thanks to tonight's sponsor, Spirit Curd, available at your local grocers. Remember, folks, stay safe, stay alive, stay true. This is Truth or Die.
And we are clear.
Damn, that one creep riled you a bit, huh?
I am not going to pretend he did not affect me at all. That would not be entirely honest.
So, what can I do to help you?
I believe screening our callers has become necessary. It is very unnerving that he had such specific information about my past.
See, and I thought we had kept all that quiet.
We did, which is why I'm unsettled.
You know, I really think you would benefit from talking to someone again, like a professional. Maybe even consider taking some time off.
I will weigh my options. I am strongly considering seeking help. These emotions were just unexpected.
We'll set up call screening with Amanda for the next show. In the meantime, do you want to come with me to check out these horse slayings?
Of course. I hate horses.
I know you do.
Thank you for listening to Truth or Die with Abnorman, a show from Out in Left Field Productions. This show was conceived and directed by Nick Manzoni, produced by Mason Trapp. Episode 1 was written by Nick Manzoni, with additional writing by Jeff Dunn, Jack Lizette, and Claire Sheridan. Episode 1 featured the voice talents of Nick Manzoni, Gemma Mitchell, Alexander Manzoni, April Harbright, Shorsha Pierce, Lydia Scheuerman, Mads Robson, George Waters, and Mason Trapp. If you're interested in being part of the show or want to financially support us, please send an email at leftfieldland@gmail.com. Keep your feelers out for more from us in the near future. Stay safe, stay alive out there. This is Truth or Die.